So welcome everybody to Nerd Night. This is our second installation. So let's see. So we want to make sure that all cell phones are on vibrate so that we don't disrupt the presenters while they're up here. I will say that positive and supportive heckling is encouraged. So if you need to heckle nicely, you can do that. And for the presenters, I will tell you this little thing here. To go forward, we need to press down. Bam. So Nerd Night, its original, what's this called? Slogan. We like that word, slogan? So the original slogan was be there and be square. But that's lacking some excitement, right? In the 2000s, when there was cable, who has cable anymore, by the way? Anybody? I got one. So when there was cable, they changed it to, it's like the Discovery Channel with beer. But now that we don't have cable anymore, now it's been recently dubbed, more recently, like Boozy TED Talks, right? So, all right. So I am one of your Nerd Night bosses. My name is Flip Awesome Aguilera. Yes, my middle name literally is Awesome. And this is my wonderful partner, my wife, Maritza Aguilera. And we're working on a middle name for her one day. We'll see what happens. But it won't be awesome. It'll be greater than awesome, whatever that is. All right, so Colorado Springs is now one of the newest cities that has been added to the Nerd Night family, or framily, as we were saying. Nerd Night is in over 80 cities all around the world. And now Colorado Springs is cool enough to have a Nerd. 10 years ago, there wasn't enough people here. But now that there's more people, there's Nerd Night. So if you travel to any of these places, stop by and see what you can learn and who you can connect with in all these cities. So I know what you're thinking, but first let me see. How many of you were here last time? All right, so we have a few. How many of you is it your first Nerd Night? Now, all of you, I know what you're thinking. Except for maybe you. So all of you that are here for the first time, you're thinking, how can I become a presenter, right? That's what you're thinking. And if you're thinking that, you can contact me, of course, Maritza, or you can email us at nerdnightcos@gmail.com, and we'll get the presenter's application over to you. Now, we would love tonight, if you take photos, please tag us on your favorite social media. We are on the Gram. We are on the Facebook. And I think I said this in memoirs the other day, but I like saying the Gram, but I just wonder, what's it a gram of? That's what I want to know. All right, so you can stalk us, cosnerdnight.com. That's what it looks like. That's also what it looks like. And we'd also like to thank Coati, so let's put our hands together for Coati for allowing us to use this wonderful space. And of course, thank you, Colorado Springs, for nerding out. So give yourselves a hand. So tonight, we will have 3 fantastic presenters. And presentation number 1 will be WTF is Credit and How to Not F It Up by Lindsay Martinez. Presentation number 2 will be Talk to the Hoof by Erin Angel. And presentation number 3 is Why Beer Tastes Better in Colorado. I think we should have added so much better, right? So I think we are ready to go. So Lindsay, teach us how to not F up our credit. All right, give her a bigger hand. Come on, nerds, you got it. There we go.
How do I put it? Wow. Okay. Down. Hey y'all, how's everyone doing tonight? That's good. Okay, I promise this presentation isn't going to be boring or, sad. Nobody wants to talk about credit. It's awkward and taboo. But if I could get everyone to get on their phone and check your credit score and show me right now. I'm totally kidding. No, I'm just kidding. See? And if you're willing to share it, then you have nothing to worry about. But those that are like, girl, we want to learn how to do credit. We don't want to be laughed at. It's totally fine. That's what we're here for. So, What is it? I'm going to show you. Oh, you're a gloater. Good for you. Okay, so I have no idea what my credit score is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. Do not be in oblivion. It's not good to, like, ignorance is not bliss when it comes to credit. So if you think, no, it's not important, I don't need it, it's so important. It's so important, especially we're adults, and it fucking sucks. Adulting sucks, but that's what you have to do to be more responsible, you know? Your credit card info can't be used to make fraudulent charges if it's already maxed out. Don't be this guy either. Like, it's funny, but it's not funny when it's actually you, you know? You're going to see why it's really bad to use your whole credit limit. Okay, so what is credit? Basically, credit is a trust system. You know, are you trustworthy enough to get $5,000 right now just because you asked for it? I promise I'll pay you back in increments of like $5, $10, I don't know. Whatever I can afford, but please, I need the $5,000 right now. That's basically what credit is. A trust and promises. That's a promise. A credit score is basically just the number that summarizes your credit report. So everything that's on your credit report, whether it's bankruptcies, inquiries, you know, any credit accounts, it's just all right there. And the credit score and credit report, all that, is worth your credit worthiness. So a future lender, a future banker, anything, they're just going to look at you. And if you don't look good on paper, you're not going to get shit. And we need stuff, especially now that we're adults. We got bills to pay, and we got mortgages to want to pay, you know? Okay, so. Oh, okay. So I'm just going to tell you guys to check your credit report annually. That's what you have to do. Just check. Why check? Because there's some people that are in oblivion. They do not know or do not care, which is really sad, because we all know credit is everything, or in everything. And you can check it for free once a year at annualcreditreport.com. Once a year, it's free. And you see what's happening, who has your name, who has your accounts, or who doesn't. You know, you are the only person that knows what's supposed to be on there and what isn't. And that's how a lot of people don't even realize they've gone identity theft, you know, because they didn't check. So what's on your credit report? Your credit report consists of, like, you know, 5 basic things, but really just your personal information, credit accounts, aka trade lines. So if you hear that word, it's just a big word for credit accounts. Don't get scared. And especially, do you know what a trade line is? Now I do, okay? So, and your bankruptcies are in there, and your credit inquiries are in there, and just alerts and disputes, anything. It's your consumer report, which is important because why? We're adults. And again, it fucking sucks. So how do you actually read your report? I'm not really going to tell you like your whole report, but I'm just going to tell you when you do have a credit report in front of you, you need to really be looking at 2 basic things. The first is your personal information. You need to make sure that it's always updated. Always, always update your stuff, because God forbid you get an important letter and it goes to your previous employer or previous address. You need that. So just make sure your name is correct or updated current, your address is, and your number, because that's how a lot of original creditors or banks or, you know, your employers get a hold of you. Then the second is your credit account, so your trade line. So how you read your trade line, all you really have to look at is your pay status. So that says current, paid, or paying as agreed. So if it says late or incapable or not paying on time, that's bad. That's really bad. You need to look at your status as well as your credit limit. So that says $3,500, but imagine if your card only says $1,500, or it actually says $4,000 and this says $300 or $3,500, right? It makes you look bad if you owe, say, $500 out of the $3,500, when in reality it's $4,000, but it's lowering what you owe. So that makes you look bad. Percentages are really important, whether we know it or not. And most of the time we don't, because we weren't taught this. But I'm here, so don't worry. And what makes up your credit? There are 5 main things, which 2 of them, 30% and 35%, is amounts owed and payment history. Amounts owed is literally how much you owe. You can have many credit lines, many loans, but it's exactly how much money did you pull out from there instead of what's available to you. And they look at that. Any future lender, mortgage lender, loan officer, all those. Payment history is your payment history on time or late. If you look bad on paper, which this is the only reason why we have a credit system in the first place, to make yourself look like a good citizen or make yourself look capable of handling responsibility with money. That's all it is. So if it says like you have on-time payments, then you're good to go. You're going to have a good high credit score. If it's late payments, it's going to deduct your credit score by a lot. So you could have the most prestigious credit score number ever, and the second that you miss one payment, I kid you not, you're going to lose at least 50 to 100 points. That's how serious it is. That's 35% out of the whole 100% that it's owed. New accounts is just like how often you're pulling your credit. I always recommend my clients, because I'm a credit repair specialist, I always require them to only pull their credit when necessary, but it's 2 to 4 years. Because inquiries stay on your credit report for 2 years. So I always push either 2 or 4 years. And it's all a patience game. It's all time. And that's really important to know with credit. Types of credit, the more diverse your credit report is, the more likely you're able to not only continue boosting up your credit, but also being able to get approved for anything, anywhere, at any time. And how long? So the length of history is important because the people that have a 750 or an 800, they're most likely have had credit for about 5 to 10 years plus. And that's what people don't realize. You're not going to get an 800 credit score at 18. No, honey, unless you have really good parents and they put you on an authorized user, but that's another. I ain't going to tell you about that right now. Okay, so if I have a low credit score now, can I do anything about it? Absolutely. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, my credit's screwed. I can never dig myself out of this hole. And no, that's not right. Like you can. You can always change it up. You can always fight for what it is. And a lot of people don't realize you can exercise your consumer rights as well as your civil rights to, hey, this is inaccurately reported, or hey, I'm trying to pay this debt off faster. Can we consolidate it? Something. Like you can always ask. So I always recommend ask. Don't just settle. And a lot of people, no, it's okay, I'm scared. They're going to say no. No, just ask. Because more than likely, they are going to say yes because a lot of people don't ask. So this is another meme. I personally made it. Let me get this straight. You're over 30 and you're still a cosigner. There are people out there, yeah, they have the means. Yes, they have the money, the cash, but they have horrible credit. And again, cash is king, but credit is power. So you just have to make sure you have the money to back up any credit limit. If you don't, that's fine, but don't overdo it or don't maximize your credit limit when you know you can't afford it. By the way, that's my baby. He's so cute, right? That's why I said that I made this meme. But he's judging you. Okay. When your credit is so bad, you receive a credit card offer that's pre-declined. Can you imagine? It's a real thing, I swear. I mean, no, not actually getting pre-declined, but knowing damn well, I want to apply so bad, but I know they're going to say no, but let me do it. And then you get declined, and then you're surprised, but you know damn well you are going to get denied. And this last meme, I promise. I'm done with the memes. Tattoo artist, your tattoo's done. Credit card declines, tattoo artist. Peeling your skin. And it sucks. This is funny, but also it's messed up because a lot of people, they overdo their credit card and then it gets declined when it's actually real services. And you know how they always charge you 3% if you use your credit and all that stuff? It's because you don't have that money to pay and now you're making somebody else or putting them in debt for something that you could have either had money or not. Okay. So what can you do to boost your credit? This is all what you came here for, right? So I'm going to make this super simple. Pay your bills on time. When, of course, we all hear this, but say your thing or your monthly credit card is due on the 7th. Don't wait till the 7th to pay it because you know damn well the banks take their sweet-ass time and it doesn't get through till the 9th or the 10th. So I always recommend to pay your credit cards 3 to 4 days before the actual due date, just so you have nothing to worry about and it is paid on time. So that's what they mean by paying it on time. Use 15% of your total credit limit. I know you've heard 30%, but the only reason why I push 15% is because, God forbid, you need an emergency, and okay, you end up at 30% instead of you're at 30%, then you're going to end up over 50% or 60%. it's always to be safe than sorry. So you're only setting yourself up for success, knowing that I'm still not killing my credit usage, but I had to do what I had to do, but I'm still okay. You know, it's my utilization isn't going to hurt me. It's only going to help me, because utilizing does help you with your credit. Use your credit cards to pay your bills and pay them off monthly. That's a hack that a lot of people don't realize. You can boost up your score significantly, more like 5 to 20 points per month if you're paying your utilization, even mortgage, if you have that high credit limit, and then you pay it off at the end of the month, because the credit card companies are like, oh, you got money, you're using our card, I'm gonna give you some more. Here's a higher credit limit, and you're like, yeah, you know, we all want that, but we don't realize that these are hacks. And another little hack that I would say is when you have something that you want to pay on your card and you have the means for it to pay it all in full, I recommend that you pay half of it, say on the 1st, and then the rest before the due date, and that'll add 2 on-time payments for the next month's thing. So that's actually boosting up your credit by like 10, 20 points. It's not on here because it's a hack and you had to be here to learn it, but here you guys are, so. Okay, use your credit cards every once in a while. So if you're a person that has, oh, I have 10 credit cards, but I only use 5. Okay, so use the other 5, buy a gum, buy toilet paper, and then pay it right back the next day. So you have nothing to worry about, but you still are building that age of history, using it, and not getting it closed. Because the longer that you have credit cards or loans or anything, the better it is for you. Again, we're building age of history, length of history. So important. Do not close any of your credit cards. So even if you're not using them, you should definitely utilize them for your own advantage by having them. And if you truly don't want it, don't close it personally. Because if you close it personally, you're telling them, oh, I can't afford it, and I'm irresponsible, and I just can't trust myself, and here, I'm going to close it. You went, no. That's exactly what it looks like when you personally close it. So just wait until they close it, and it doesn't ding your credit score as if it would if you personally closed it. And lastly, there are self-credit building applications that truly do work. They're basically like a second savings account. And the only reason they make money is because people are impatient. So say you're putting $25 aside, they're reporting to the credit bureaus positive on-time payments, building age of history, and just reporting positive stuff on your name, which if your credit score is at a plateau and you want it to raise slowly but surely, you can definitely do that. And the only reason they make money is because people, no, this is my second savings account, I need this money now, or, okay, then you just paid them an interest rate or whatever percentage they said that you had to wait. Most of them, they wait like a year, maybe 2, but even then, you know, in a year or 2, this is my money. They're giving me 100% back if I just am patient and I'm just utilizing them to build my credit. But all I really want you guys to do to like be smarter, you know, money management, is make a goal credit-wise. If you want a higher credit limit, if you want to get approved for that home loan, if you want to get approved for that car loan, just know what you want and then start from there. By knowing your numbers, which is how much you have, how much you spend, and how much you want to save, like it makes you feel good. Because you can go out with your friends and you know damn well you use your credit card the day before shopping, and then you're like, here's a card, and you're looking at the waiter like, bro, please don't embarrass me in front of my friends. Like, just let it go through, or just like sneakily like say it was a decline. Instead of, okay, I know exactly how much I'm supposed to spend. I know exactly how much I have to spend. Swipe that thing. Swipe it twice. Okay, I have the money. You know, you want that confidence. So doing that is giving you that security that you can give yourself. So knowing your numbers is basically budgeting, you know. A lot of people don't budget because they have plenty of money, but you realize you could have had or accumulated more money if you've known the numbers, known how much to save, know how much not to spend, or known how much not to spend. And it wouldn't hurt you at all, like materialistically wise. And just prioritize what you want to be spending. That's really it. Oh my God. Oh, sorry. Yes. All right, well, basically, I was just going to say thank you guys so much. And also, I'm ready for some Q&A. And if, again, credit is something taboo, so if you don't want to put your personal information or like personal questions out there, I am an business owner of 222 Financial Solutions, which is credit repair and life insurance and stuff. And I'm answering calls all day long, just questions. They're not even my clients. I'm like, okay, can you help me with it? Yeah, sure thing. That's what I do. I have nothing else to do but help you. But yes. Perfect credit. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that your credit score can go up to 873. Do you have an 873? That's what I'm saying. We don't even know how high it could actually be. But that is a perfect score. There is no perfect. After 750 and up, you're good. You're like, look at my credit score. Oh, you don't want to talk about credit? That sucks. I can totally talk about credit because it's not taboo, because I want you to know that I'm such a good citizen and I look good on paper. Basically, that's the people with high credit scores. But yeah, so to answer your question, 750 and up. Okay, so I am a credit repair specialist, so it's basically disputing. So the average consumer doesn't have time to, you have your jobs and you don't have time to fight with the bureaus. I fight them for you. But all I tell my clients, I literally tell them what to do. You can do it yourself. No, you're okay. I got the money, girl. Just pay it. Okay. I'm trying not to take your money, but if you insist. But really, it's updating information. So there's this thing called federal, sorry, I drank. Hold on. Fair Credit Reporting Act. Okay. And that's what I work on. I'm using consumer laws and exercising your civil rights to fight on your behalf. And you can use it too. And what that law says is that everything, every number, every account, everything, anything and everything has to be accurate, 100% accurate. If one number is off, if one letter is off, delete it right now. And you delete it. So a lot of people don't know that. That's why you just have to make sure everything is correct, 100% correct. And if it's not, fight that and get that off your credit, So, yes. Accuracy is key, because that's what helps you finesse the credit bureaus. Yes. So a lot of people have never built credit before. And I'm talking about 18-year-olds, and I'm talking about some 40-year-olds. I'm not even kidding. It really is like that. Again, the credit building tools help you. But as well, if you have a family member that has pristine credit or has a credit card for years and years, you can be added as an authorized user. And what that means is, yeah, you get a card, but you can say, keep the card, I don't want it, whatever. All you're using is their age of history, their on-time payments, and just them. And they're helping you out. And that can boost your credit score 100 plus points. So that's like a really fast, easy hack that a lot of people do. But a lot of people, I don't trust you. You think I'm going to give you my credit card? But that's how it happens. So just always ask to be an authorized user, but use the credit building tools. That's the best thing you could do. All you need is positive credit reporting on your account. And from there you start. Any other questions? Yes. So, yes. Yes, I had a girlfriend, and she was like, hey, I have this card, and I really don't want it anymore, and can I just close it? I'm like, no. Even if you don't use it, just keep it forever. Like, how long have you had it? 2 years? Girl, that's 2 years that you're never going to get back. So just keep it. It depends on what it is, but don't close. Even if you don't use it. And if you don't use it, whether it's from a store or from another bank, buy a gum, buy toilet paper, and then pay it off. And then you're good. And then you can forget about it for another 6 to 12 months. Yes, and like I said, it's okay if they close it automatically and you wanted them to close, but don't personally close them because they're going to ding you for it. But if they close it for you, it's not going to be a hard ding as it would be for you. You're still going to get dinged. Inevitably, sadly. It sucks because you're closing something that was helping you out. So it's inevitable for your credit score to decrease. Any other questions? Okay. Again, my name is Lindsay. Thank you.
All right, so now it's time for trivia. And The Flipster says that this is going to be the hardest trivia ever. Please help me prove him wrong, because I have faith in all of you nerds. I have some summer solstice trivia. Here I am sweating my behind off, and I know that you guys are going to do me proud. So, very first question. The word solstice comes from the Latin solstitium, which means, any guesses? What does it mean? Come on, guys. Something with the sun. The opposite. Stillness of the sun. I'm going to say that she got it. The sun stands still. Nerd rope for the young lady over here, please. All right. So, the next question is, the astronomical year is split into 4 seasons, but they aren't all of equal lengths. Which season is the longest? Pick one. No. Summer. This young lady over here? Yes, good catch. All right, summer. The summer solstice kicked off the countdown to what ancient Greek event? Close, but no cigars. Other guesses? All right. The chariot races. Oh, I knew you guys would know it once I told you. So again, please follow, like, review, share us on the Facebook, the Instagram, at Nite COS. We will have about another 15 minutes or so, good music, go get your drinks, go get some more food. We will be here waiting for you, and our second presenter, Erin Angel, which we will know a lot about horseshoes.
Let's get our nerd hats back on, get our attention back over here. Again, you can follow, like, review, share. All you people that are taking pictures, please tag Nerd Night. And you can tag me as well, Flip Aguilera. So people know that this is an amazing event. I think the next person we're going to call up is Erin, the amazing angel. Oh my God. Put your hands together, nerds, for Erin Angel.
That's like a crown. Queen. Okay. Like that? Okay. Project. Okay. All right, here we go. So tonight I'm going to teach you all you probably never wanted to know about horse feet and horseshoes. And give a little bit of props for my daughter over there, River, who has been shoeing horses with me since she was 6 weeks old. She has been going with me every day. So have you guys ever, that's me, dorky, me, and Jack. Jack was really goofy. So have you guys ever heard a blacksmith at their anvil? It's never like hammer, 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 right? It's hammer, hammer, tap, tap, hammer, hammer, tap, tap, hammer, hammer, tap, 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 right? Right? Yeah? Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys today. I started shoeing horses 23 years ago. And if you would have told me back then, I was in love with it back then. But if you would have told me back then that I would still be in love with it now, I'd probably be like, no, you're full of shit. So I'm going to talk to you today about one of my favorite legends, sort of the history and the modern day kind of processes, and then my kind of personal evolution. So first, legends. This is my absolute favorite story. Well, one of them. Okay, so a long, long, long time ago, there was a blacksmith working on a horse. He was forging shoes, right? Hammer, 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 tap, tap, hammer, 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 tap, tap, right? And the devil was walking by, and the devil heard the ring of the anvil. And he was like, what is that? And he was very intrigued, so he hid behind this big giant tree, right? And he was watching the blacksmith work, and he saw him forging the shoes for this horse. He's like, what the heck is he doing? Right? And so he watched, and they saw finally the finished product. This horse was standing there with 4 shiny shoes, and the devil was like, I don't have that. And so he was like, I need that, right? So he went up to the blacksmith, and he was like, hey, how about me? I got money. Here you go. And the blacksmith, he was like, all right. But he knew he was very wise, and he knew exactly with whom he was dealing. So he agreed to make shoes for the devil. But when he turned his back to begin working on the devil's shoes, he threw the money that the devil gave him into his forge fire, knowing that any money given by the devil would always be cursed. And he began working on the horseshoe, right, for the devil. Hammer, hammer, tap, tap, hammer, hammer, tap, tap, right? And then he took the shoe and he applied it to the devil's foot, red hot, and he nailed the first nail straight into the center of the devil's foot, which caused the devil instant and agonizing pain. And the devil started dancing around and cussing and screaming at the blacksmith, and he was like, take it off, take it off. And the blacksmith agreed to relieve the devil's pain on one condition: that anytime he see a horseshoe or hear the ring of a blacksmith's anvil, he turn the other way. This is why horseshoes are lucky. It's why the devil is afraid of blacksmiths. It's why we tap the anvil, to make sure the devil knows where the hell we are. So he knows he has to stay away. So horseshoes are deemed magical, and they ward away evil spirits. You can hang them heels up above your door, which is what we usually do in America. It's what we're usually told to do, so that they catch the luck, right? And they hold the luck in your house. But all across the world, there's different traditions. Many people hang them heels down so that the luck flows into your home from the horseshoe. So I say a horseshoe is a horseshoe is a horseshoe, and if it's in your house anywhere, in any shape, in any position, the devil's gonna run away. In the Middle Ages, it was said that witches were afraid of horseshoes. It was thought that witches could not pass through a door where a horseshoe is, and neither could the devil, conveniently. Today, like I said, you see them hung over doors to keep away evil spirits. So, moving on to the history. Horseshoeing was invented by the Romans, who used their horses obviously for war. And horses are they're designed to walk around and graze all day. And as they do that, they wear their own feet down. But we, as humans, we give them a use, and we use them more than their feet were designed to be used. So we had to find a way to protect them. So the Romans invented these sandals. They were called hippo sandals. And so I have to thank Maritza for helping me very much with this project. A Roman poet named Catullus mentioned the loss of his mule's shoe in a 1st century BC writing. Now, I looked up Catullus. He was a poet. And I gotta get to know this guy because it said that most of his writing was very emotional, and and it said downright rude toward traitorous friends. I was like, this guy is my hero. So in 2018, a full set of Roman hippo sandals were found in northern England. These are what they looked like. They were sort of tied with straps to a horse's fetlock, which is basically their ankle. So as you can imagine, it was probably effective at protecting the bottom of the foot, but there was probably a lot of rubbing where the straps went around the ankle or the fetlock. I get asked this question all the time. Why don't wild horses need horseshoes? Well, wild horses don't need horseshoes for the same reason that I just said. They walk around and they graze all day and they run and they're free and they wear their own feet down naturally. Also, I get told a lot, well, you never see a lame horse in the wild. Unfortunately, lame horses get eaten in the wild. So the reason that we shoe our horses today, we have many reasons for shoeing them today. Many reasons are therapeutic. Many horses there are many diseases of the feet, and we can help those. We can help balance issues. Many horses have poor conformation, and so we can help sort of correct that, especially in younger horses. And let's see, what else? Does it hurt? I get asked this a lot too. So if you can imagine, a horse's foot is much like your fingernail. And we nail shoes on a horse's foot, right? And it looks like it should hurt. And sometimes it does. Farriers aren't perfect. But if you can imagine nailing a nail through the pink part of your fingernail, that would suck, right? That would hurt really bad. But if you nailed a nail through the white part, you wouldn't even feel it, right? So that's essentially what we're doing. We're kind of dividing that line between the red and the white, okay? So the process. So these are all the tools that I would normally use. Okay, so here we go. The reason that I say horseshoe, a farrier, if any farrier ever tells you that they've never hurt a horse, they're a liar. Because our margin of error is here. This is called the white line, and that is the area that we can nail in where we can keep the shoe on the foot, but if we go beyond that, in here, we can really hurt the horse, and they'll end up not liking us very much at all. So this part of the foot is called the frog, and this is what we trim first. It's kind of like my map. It shows me how deep I can trim this foot. It shows me where that foot wants to live. Okay, when River was little, I told her that horses had frogs in their feet so they could jump, and she told all of my clients that. So that's basically the horse's foot. We trim it down to where the heels here are even with the back of the frog. So that's a pretty well balanced foot. Okay, so like I said, the very first step I do is I trim the frog, and then I trim out excess sole, and then I go ahead and use my clippers and trim the nails. And I use my file. This is me making a bar shoe, which is actually one of the most protective shoes that you can apply to a horse. It helps protect the heels and really balance the foot. It's for an injured foot. Okay. Then you have to fit the shoe. So what I do is I usually take a pre-made shoe and I shape it in my forge. And then how do I make that work? Press what? Press the down again. Okay. Oh, there it goes. So I just take it to my anvil. I always mark my lateral heel so that any farrier, if the shoe gets lost, another farrier will know which foot that goes on. And then I just shape it up and take it to the foot. So now, is the other video on here? It will go? Okay. So another thing that I always do is I always hammer out my heels, which makes it so that I can fit the heels with a little expansion so that the horse, if the horse steps on his shoe, it kind of slides off. So it's hard to explain, I'm sorry. And, okay, so keep going. Okay, so then, it's not, okay, so I normally do what's called hot shoeing, which is where I take a hot shoe and I put it on the horse's foot, and it smokes and it makes a lot of noise. Well, not a lot of noise, but it kind of makes a sizzling noise. And most horses tolerate this. It doesn't hurt unless you hold it on too long. A lot of horses, if they are bothered by it, it's the sound and the smell of the smoke. But when I have a horse who's never done it before, I tend to go really, really slow, and I try not to make much noise or smoke. And usually they end up tolerating it as time goes on. But that's how I fit. Gives me the best fit, I think. If you ask any farrier, you could get 100 different reasons why hot shoeing is good or bad. I tend to say that I do it because I like my elbows and I don't want to bang on cold steel. So once I've fit the shoe hot, then I cool it in water and I nail it on. And then these are some of my finished products. These little things here are called clips. A lot of times I forge these into shoes. They keep the shoe from sliding back or twisting, anything that would cause a horse to lose a shoe. I typically shoe a lot of my jumping horses with these because they're going over jumps and they need their shoes to stay on. Okay, so modern day. This was interesting when Maritza and I were putting this together. We found all kinds of crazy stuff. The craziest that I've even never heard of is they're making 3D printed horseshoes now. Oh my goodness. You guys meant to do that, right? Making 3D printed horseshoes, and that's pretty crazy to me. That's that one there. And I mean, I never could have told you that would be a thing. But as you can see, we've come a long ways. Horseshoes are generally made out of steel in the past. Now we make them a lot of times out of aluminum. Aluminum is much lighter weight. They use it on race horses and a lot of cow horses who need to get up and around themselves very quickly. Also, the great benefit of aluminum is for injured horse hooves that are very tender. Aluminum absorbs a lot more shock than steel does. And so if you have an injured foot, it can really be beneficial. There's plastic shoes, there's boots that a lot of people use. The boots, I tend not to recommend because they end up wearing on the horse's ankles and things like that. Glue-on shoes we typically use for very, very injured feet that the horse just can't stand nailing, or we use them on very young babies who have real crooked legs, and we're trying to straighten them. And there's just not enough foot to nail on. We use glue-on shoes. So now for my little personal evolution. I've been shoeing for 23 years, and it's pretty physically demanding work. And I'm in my 40s now, and I don't want to bend over all the time anymore under 1,200-pound animals and try to hold them up. So I've moved on, and I do a lot of sculptures with horseshoes. And, well, not totally moved on. I still shoe horses quite a bit. But so these are some of my sculptures. I blacksmith them out. These are all made with horseshoes. And then I weld them, each piece together. And that's really kind of about it, I guess, right? There's a few more. My mermaids, made mermaids, and the dove, and my deers. There we go. Okay. Oh my gosh, okay, go ahead. Oh, sorry. Ooh, okay, so the question was, would a 3D shoe be better? Probably for absorption, I would think, sure, as far as absorption of concussion. But as far as stability, I tend to really go toward old school ways. Horses are 1,000 to 1,200 pounds, and they carry 60% of their weight on their front end. And so when you get into plastic shoes and even aluminum shoes, they wear those down really, really quickly, and the stability is just not there. So I tend to go to the old school ways, but there are applications certainly for, go ahead, I'll get you. So that's okay, so I don't, what's that? Oh, okay. So he asked if I hand make pretty much every shoe, or if there's like pre-made shoes. So I don't measure every horse. So his question is, do I measure every horse and get a real like custom fit? There are sizes from 0 to 8 for bigger draft horses, and most of the time I just pick what size will work best and just kind of customize it for that horse. So, okay. So in the wild, how fast does a horse's foot grow back? So I don't think that it really, in the wild, ideally the foot and the growth and the wear would be consistent with each other, right? So I don't think that it would get, ideally, sort of out of balance. The horses would walk enough on abrasive enough ground that I think the growth and the wear would be about equal. So, yes? That's a good one. How often do horses need their shoes changed? I shoe almost all of my horses on a 6-week cycle. Some of them I shoe on about a 4-week cycle. Those are the more therapeutic needs horses. Most of my performance horses I do keep on a 6-week schedule because I just don't want that growth to get out of hand on them, and they have a job. So, yes. Oh boy. Okay, so how much does it cost? I will tell you that I am on the low end of the price scale, and that is because I now only work on horses on the weekends. It's anywhere between 120 or 30 on up to over 200, depending on the farrier and location. Yeah. Huh? Per set of shoes. Yeah. Hi. Yes. Oh my God, yes. I have stories upon story. I could keep us here all night telling funny stories. Okay, the funniest one. There's this little pony about this big, and they told me that it was scared of people. And I was like, yeah, all horses are scared of people till I get a hold of them, right? I smell better than the other shoers. And legit, she was super scared. And my tools are made for big horses, and so I was down on my knees, because she was so small. And my nippers, the top of my nippers actually accidentally bumped her in the stomach, and it scared the ever-loving crap out of her, and she ran that way and kicked me in the rear end as she went by. So I had a horsefoot-shaped bruise on my butt. Yep. And the very next week, I got kicked on the other cheek. So I had matching horsefoot-shaped bruises. Yes. That's the... Okay.
All right. So if you would like to contact Erin, Angel Fire Forge, on her Instagram, you got her phone number there. You can give her a call. You can reach out to her and see some more of her beautiful artwork. And with that, we have our next round of super hard summer solstice trivia. Summer solstice trivia. So our very first question. After gaining daylight since the December solstice on June 21st, locations in the northern hemisphere start to lose daylight. How much daylight will Anchorage, Alaska lose on that day? No. Close? No. 2 seconds. Well, in Anchorage, Alaska, they don't lose a lot of lights. Hello. Come on, nerds. Come on. Okay. Our next one. In places that are north of the Arctic Circle, like northern Alaska, the sun doesn't set below the horizon for 24 hours on the solstice. What's the phenomenon known as? Yes! Woo! She's a summer solstice queen. Yeah, midnight sun, boom. And the last trivia question for the night. Though we celebrate the day June solstice occurs, at one specific moment, what is it? So what is the moment that it's actually the solstice? On that one day, there's a moment. No. What is that moment? There's sometime in the middle of the day. No. The moment when the sun is directly over the Tropic of Cancer. All right. I'll make it easier on you next time. So again, follow, like, review, share us on Facebook, Instagram, tag us, all the nice things. Hashtag Nerd Nite COS, at Nerd Nite COS, all the nice things. We have another 15-minute break until our final presenter, Mr. Drew, and the reason why beer tastes more delicious in Colorado than anywhere else. Peace out.
So are we ready to learn about why beer is so amazing in Colorado? All right. Mr. Drew, come teach the people. They're ready to learn.
Probably will. All right, well, hey, thank you guys for all coming and making this Nerd Night exciting. Give it up to yourself. I'd like to actually make a special shout out to Flip and Maritza for putting this on and inviting me. So hands up for them. All right, let's get this thing started. So, my name is Drew, and I'm a beeraholic. What you guys are about to learn is a little bit of the history about beer, but also the history about the beer industry in Colorado, and why the beer tastes so much better in Colorado. Oh, no. All right. So, by the way, as a disclaimer, every single one of these images you're about to see are highly copyrighted on this place called Google. They're not copyrighted by me, so please do not sue me in any way. Let's just get over that. All right. Anyway, so who here likes beer just as much as I do? Wow, okay, 2 of you. Who here is drinking beer like I am? Still 2 of you, awesome. Who has had too many to drink? Tyler? All right, that one there. All right, we're gonna get this thing started. So, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I actually live in the beer world. I've been a bartender at Old Chicago for about 15 years, where I've taught over 2,000 people about beer. I run my own beer class. I teach them about the flavors, the styles, the types, how to sell it, how to actually taste beer. Also, I'm a level 1 Cicerone, which for those of you who don't know, it is same terms of a beer sommelier for you winos out there. Technically, it's a certified beer server, but Cicerone sounds way better. Lastly, I run my own export company. So I export beer from Colorado to Russia. With love. Yes, I do mean that Russia. I am openly colluding with the Russians. I send them the Colorado beer. They love it. If you actually want to know a little bit more about that, you can talk to me afterwards. I love talking about it. But what we're here today to talk about is beer in Colorado. Before we talk about beer in Colorado, we have to talk about the history of beer. So, who out there knows how old beer is? Very old is exactly right. All right, 4,000 to 5,000, a little bit higher. 2,400, way higher than that. Anyone else? 7,000 is a little bit closer. So the oldest known chemical composition that was discovered of beer is 12,000 years old. So they actually did science on this. They found out in about 10,000 BC, they found a bowl that actually had the chemical composition of beer in 10,000 BC. The earliest known depiction of beer was in ancient Mesopotamia, which for those of you geographically inept like myself, I had to look it up. It was actually in Iran. But, so in ancient Mesopotamia, they found a tablet with 2 people actually drinking from a communal bowl through reed straws. Technically, they did not have COVID back in 7,000 BC. So they were able to, I'm pretty sure, they were able to drink out of a communal bowl. What they found out was that if you leave out sugary grains, like something like cereal that we know of today, and you leave it in water, the wild yeast in the air will actually ferment that liquid, and if you drink it, you feel really, really good. So beer was not invented. It was actually stumbled upon, probably by some kid trying to enjoy his morning breakfast bowl of Kellogg's, and decided to stumble around all day, and the adults decided, ooh, that looks fun. And that's how we get beer. Fast forward a few centuries later to 1516, and you get this guy. This guy's name is William IV, Duke of Bavaria. He decides to say, hey, beer needs specific ingredients. I'm tired of everybody thinking their liquor is beer. So he says there are going to be only 3 ingredients in beer. It's going to be water, hops, and barley. Only about 300 years later, when Louis Pasteur came around, did yeast become one of the ingredients. But, so William decided to say, hey, this is the purity law. Can anybody actually pronounce this word here? Right? Close. Reinheitsgebot. So Reinheitsgebot is that purity law. It was the law that Germany still actually has today, where beer is only made of these ingredients: water, malt, and hops. So like I said, yeast was added about 300 years later. Now we have the 4 ingredients of beer: water, malt, yeast, and hops. So going over the ingredients, hops is the aroma of beer. It's what you smell. It's the pininess, the citrusy, the floral, those tones that you smell in a beer. So hops is actually related to another plant, THC, which, if you guys know the smell of marijuana, we're all in Colorado, I get it. If you know the smell of marijuana, that's the smell of a hop plant. Now, what it imparts on the beer is going to be different for whatever plant it is. The malt is actually the body of the beer. So it gives the beer its color, gives the beer its thickness, its mouthfeel. The more malt you put in, the thicker the beer. Also, the more you actually roast the malt, the darker the beer is going to be. So think about one of those, the Guinness, where you have that dark look to it. That's because they roast the malt, and you're going to get those coffee notes out of the malt, out of the beer. Next, you have the yeast, like I talked about. You have wild yeast, which creates your lambics, which is the wine of the beer world. Or you have your sours, which is going to be like a warhead in a can. Other yeast, you have ale yeast, which gives you a little bit bolder, complex flavors. Lager yeast is going to give you those crisp, clean, effervescent flavors. So yeast has a lot of effect on the beer. Lastly, you have water, which is my favorite ingredient. You'll learn why in a little bit, but it comprises 90% of the beer, and it's the support system. I mean, let's be honest. Beer is a liquid, so you need water. There you go. All right. Like I said, a brief description about beer. Now let's talk about the Colorado beer industry and where we stand. So, Colorado as a state, we have 433 breweries here in Colorado. We're one of the smaller states if you look at it in terms of capita in the United States. Colorado has the 4th most breweries in the United States. We do rank number 1 in economic impact of beer. Now, what does economic impact mean, Drew? Thank you for asking. So economic impact is how much money do people spend on beer per year? So the average adult spends $800 on beer per year. We all know that's not true. If you go out with one of my friends every weekend, his name's Tyler, he spends a little bit more. However, every adult over 21 comes to about $800 per year. That is $3.35 billion that Colorado brings in the beer industry alone, which I want to thank each and every one of you that drinks beer, because you keep me employed and you keep my beer business going. So thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
Who's number 1?
Number 1 is California, but don't come at me with those claims. So, California has the most breweries, New York, Pennsylvania, then Colorado. So, all right, why? This is the meat and bones of it. Why does Colorado actually have such an impact in the beer world? Well, we have to go through the actual start of beer in Colorado. So imagine it's 1859. The gold rush has just started here in the Rocky Mountains. There's saloons that are popping up left and right. But in those saloons, people are only selling liquor and whiskey, because those are the easiest ones to actually bring across state lines when you're traveling in a covered wagon. Nobody is actually bringing beer because at the time, nobody's preserving beer for the long enough travel. So one guy by the name of Frederick Solomon decides, you know what, there's a niche for this. I know the 4 ingredients, what were the 4 ingredients? Water, hops, malt, and yeast. Okay. Colorado, we have water. We have the mountain spring water. We also have malt. It's just grains. What we didn't grow our own hops, and we didn't have brewer's yeast, which is a little bit different. We didn't have any of that. So Frederick Solomon decided to enlist the aid of a merchant going to St. Louis, which at the time, Budweiser was one of the top breweries. So he decided to have a merchant go pick up some hops and pick up some yeast from St. Louis and bring it back to Colorado. From there, he created the first brewery in Colorado called the Rocky Mountain Brewery. To this day, you can actually find where the first brewery was actually created and founded. It's in Larimer Square in Denver. You can actually see a little plaque saying, hey, this is where the Rocky Mountain Brewery was. It's pretty cool. But that was the first time that somebody decided to actually brew a beer in Colorado. That paved the way for this guy. Adolf Coors is actually known as the father of Colorado beer. Technically, I think I'm the only one that actually calls him the father of Colorado beer. But after doing so much research, he literally needs to be dubbed this. Adolf Coors was an immigrant from Germany. He came over, he worked in some breweries over on the East Coast after being an apprentice in Germany. He then moved to Colorado, $3,000 in his pocket. He decides to buy a tanning factory in Golden, Colorado. That tanning factory turns into the Coors Brewery. Now, it goes by different names throughout the years. However, the Coors Brewery to this day is the largest single-site brewery in the world. That is an impressive feat. Largest single-site brewery in the world. So there's multiple breweries that have multiple locations. Coors is the largest in the entire world, and we have that here in Colorado. If you guys get a chance, go up to Golden, Colorado. You can actually take a tour of the brewery, and they give you free beer afterwards. So, all right, going back, what did Adolf Coors do to make his brewery so popular? So he decided to use that mountain spring water, and he brewed a typical German lager, and he made it. That was his original recipe. He called it Coors Original, which, have you guys heard of Coors Original at all? Yes. So the miners in this, the gold rush is still going on. The miners in Colorado started calling it the Miners' Banquet. And that's where you get the banquet of beers, because the miners felt that it is above any other lager that they've had, and it is a banquet when you actually get to drink this. Now, he only sold this in Colorado, but with this just one recipe, he became one of the top breweries in the United States. However, when we're talking about this time, we can't not talk about that one noble experiment that the United States went through, Prohibition. Unfortunately, Colorado is a very progressive state, and in 1916, which is 4 years before the entire United States went through this process, they had to dump out all of their liquor. There was no alcohol allowed in Colorado in 1916. So, in a funny turn of events, Adolf Coors decided to say, hey, screw you, I'm going to dump all my beer back into the stream that I actually brewed this beer from. Which all of the pictures that you see depicting Prohibition throughout the country is cops coming up and smashing barrels and dumping it out of windows and pouring it on the streets into the gutters. Adolf Coors was actually ahead of the process and had his entire staff decide to dump it in the rivers where the cops couldn't come and they couldn't take any pictures. So it's pretty cool on his part. Well, what do you do if you're a brewery that can't sell alcohol? Well, that's kind of a tough one. A little bit. He didn't go the speakeasy route. What he decided to do was, instead of actually brew a beverage for adults, he brewed a beverage for kids. He made a malted milk factory. Which, on the other side of it, he actually made a ceramics factory to hold this milk, which Coors Ceramics, CEX, is actually net worth more than the Coors Brewery itself to this day. I don't know how a ceramics factory is, but it was a very savvy business move. After Prohibition, Coors was one of only 4 breweries to still be in existence in Colorado, which vaulted them to one of the top 3 breweries in the entire United States. Number 1, Anheuser-Busch. Number 2, Miller up in Milwaukee. Number 3 was Coors. And that's how started the beer industry in Colorado. A little bit later, descendants of Coors, his great-grandson, decided to bring about the aluminum can to the beer industry. Before, they were only using kegs and glass bottles to store the beer, but the glass bottles were being broken on the trip over. They also had used steel cans, which if you've ever drank out of a steel can, it imparts a metallic flavor, which when you're talking about something that is a flavor-oriented product, metallic is not the best flavor for it. So, introducing the aluminum can was a huge step. Later on, about a decade later, they introduced the push top. You push in the part where you drink, and then you also push in a little hole that you can have air go through for flow, which was the modern precursor to today's pop top. So Coors was big in the beer industry, not just in Colorado. Later on, it led to this guy. This guy's name is Charlie Papazian. He was a teacher up in Boulder, Colorado in the 1980s. He decided he loves beer so much that he wants to brew it at home alone. Other people found out he was brewing at home and said, "Hey, can you teach me?" So he decided to start teaching people how to brew beer. And he was actually the founder of the American Homebrewers Association. Later on, a couple years later, he decides to say, "Hey, let's have a competition. Who can brew the best beers in the United States?" He got 22 breweries around, brought them to Boulder, and said, whoever brews the best beer in each category will get a medal. And that today is what we know as the Great American Beer Festival, which is the largest beer festival in the entire world, and it happens every year annually in Denver, Colorado. When it's typically in September, tickets are really sometimes sparse to get, but there's over 60 to 80,000 people that show up every year for the Great American Beer Festival in Denver. So now that we know Colorado is very in-depth in the beer scene, well, why? Biggest thing is chemistry. Nerds, this is where we're actually going to get a little bit nerdy. So, the chemical composition of one of the main ingredients, what was my favorite ingredient? Water. Water is the most underappreciated and overlooked ingredient in beer to this day. The chemical composition, people don't look at it, they don't look at how it's imparted any flavors into their beer. So typically when a brewer goes about and starts brewing his beer, he looks for what is most readily available, what is cheapest, and just what's around without knowing what's in it. To this day, there's a lot of microbiologists and modern day brewers know what's in the water and they do it. But back when we just started this beer revolution, they didn't know that. So we do have to talk about 3 important factors in water that make it important for brewers. The 3 important factors are pH balance, alkalinity, and softness. Right? So pH balance is, the pH scale is a 0 to 14 scale for any aqueous solution. Today we're talking about water. If you're low on the pH scale, you're going to have more of an acidic or soft liquid, soft water. If you're higher on the scale, you're going to have more of an alkaline or hard water. Now the hard water is actually because there's a lot of chemicals and a lot of minerals that are mixed into your water, making it hard water. So breaking them down, alkalinity. So that hard water, that alkaline water, is going to be over there on the scale. Typically in certain regions of the world, your water is your water. You can't really help what minerals are in there. Northern Germany is known for their hard water. Likewise, they're actually known for their dark malty lagers which hard water, the minerals that are in there, calcium chloride, calcium sulfate, calcium sodium, is known to create a little bit of sweetness and actually have more flavor in darker beers. On the other side of it, when you have soft water, you don't have as much minerals that are actually dissolved in your water. Well, that allows for cleaner, crisper, more astringent beers. Let's say the regions in Czechoslovakia that are more well known for their pilsners, which are light lagers. Think about Budweiser or Coors Original. They're pure pilsners. So, where do we actually stand as a state in the water level in Colorado? Hard, soft, so hard. So we, as a state, are the most near pure water, pure pH balanced in the United States. Actually, it's very similar to pH balance in the entire world here in Colorado. The reason why we have to look at the waterways of Colorado. So, looking at what we have, I swear that's not me. All right, there we go. All right, so the waterways in Colorado, we are very lucky because we do have that pure balance of minerals that come in the water. The reason why is because we have an abundance of rainfall, snowmelt, and glacial thawing that those water systems run through the Rocky Mountains, they run through the valleys, over the riverbeds, through the soil. And here in Colorado, the soil and the rocks have a perfect mix of magnesium, sodium, chloride, bicarbonates, and calcium. That perfect balance of mix gives Colorado the perfect homogeneous mix of minerals in the water. So think about northern Germany, like I said, where they have an abundance of minerals in their water. They're really good at making dark, malty lagers. But if they wanted to make a lighter lager, like a Pilsner from Czech Republic, they have to machine filter it, they have to centrifuge it, they have to take out a bunch of those minerals. Vice versa, if Czech Republic wants to make a darker, maltier lager, they actually have to artificially put in all those minerals, machine made. If anybody knows, if you've ever tried to make something and put in so much effort and so much percent extra that's not supposed to be there, you're never going to taste the same as the original. It's so extra. We don't want to be extra. But we are absolutely lucky here in Colorado. Think about if you only have to change the water composition by a maximum of 5%. You're not changing that much, whether it's harder or softer. And so you can actually make any beer from around the world. And that is why we have so many breweries excelling at all the beers from around the world. You have Pikes Peak making some of the best Bocks, which are also from Germany. You have Boulder making a really, really great porter, which is from England. You have Crooked Stave making some of the top sours in the world, which the Netherlands is actually known for the sours. And then on the other end, you have Coors Original, which has one of the top pilsners in the entire world, just here in Colorado. So we are absolutely lucky for having this homogeneous mix and the minerals in our water here. And that, my friends, is why we have the best beer in Colorado. So if anybody has a beer or a drink, raise it up. I want you to say after me, cheers to Colorado beer. Cheers, Colorado beer. Thank you, guys. Any questions? Yes. Why does Coors taste so bad? Opinions are very so Coors is going to taste very light because it is a light pilsner. It's going to have a little bit more body than water, obviously, but it still has alcohol in it. And it tastes a little bit better than those lagers from our southern neighbor. Oh, Bush. Why are American beers so much stronger than the European counterparts? Great question. Americans like being bold, and they do like actually drinking to get drunk. And you laugh, but it's actually, there's been numerous studies on this where Americans won't buy the lighter sessionable beers that are 4 to 5%. If they see a 7-8% beer, they're more likely to buy it. So breweries have started to actually produce beers that are higher in the alcohol content. Also, second part of this, when you talk about European hops, they're a lot milder than American hops. American hops actually have that bold, piney, pungent flavor to it. And so they're going to have that bite to it more than the European counterparts. Yeah. Why are our parents' beers so much lighter than the beers? Correct. So we actually, as a civilization, have changing of taste buds. So back in the 80s and 90s, we had an entire change from hard liquor to craft beer and wine. And so the flavors in craft beer of wine needed to adapt and change with it. Europe didn't necessarily change because, again, Germany is sticking with Reinheitsgebot, with their purity laws. A lot of Europe will follow them in that. But with the change in taste buds, economics, you change your product to serve the demand. And so you're going to have a lot more bold flavors than just the regular Pilsners or, light lagers of the world. And that's why Americans actually have that difference in flavors. Yes? What is my go-to beer and wine? Good question. I have both ends of the scale. I love Guinness and I love Coors Light. But if I'm actually going out to have a couple of beers, I do like a lighter IPA, more of a hazy, juicier flavored IPA. But also I will go for those reds. So reds are going to be more of a darker amber with a slight bite to it, not as much as an IPA, but more than say a typical American amber like Fat Tire. Yeah. What is with the IPA craze? It goes along with that. I don't want to drink a water when I'm going out. And so people are like, oh my God, this IPA is amazing. It's got this hops. It's got these flavors. They're trying to boast and, ooh, I drink IPAs. Like, that's where it started. It started in the early 90s and 2000s with IPAs saying, hey, we have more flavor than those weak counterparts of our past. And so literally it came out to be I'm drinking a real manly beer. That's where the craze came about. But you can actually have different flavors in hops that make beer taste so much better and balance it out with some malts. Yeah.
When's your next class?
When is my next beer class? So I'm actually putting on a beer class for my entire staff in 2 weeks. I am putting together a beer class for the public where you can come and taste beer, light to dark, light to hoppy. We'll give you some food. We'll give you some beer. I'll keep you guys posted when that actually happens. So,
Love you, Drew.
not on that slide. Last question. Yes. What is with this microbrewing? So, Coors, Bud, Miller are all called macro brews. They feed beer to the masses, to the main population. Microbreweries are designated anything under 60,000 barrels. 60,000 barrels is actually a really, really lot of beer to be produced. But the Buds, Millers, Coors of the world, they produce over 7 million barrels a year. So microbreweries are only 60,000. So they actually have specific malts, specific hops that they like to use. They play around. It started as home brewers creating different flavors, going with a tangerine IPA or a raspberry wheat. And they decided, all right, I can actually sell this. People like it. And that's where microbrewers started getting their foothold over the mass Pilsners and Bud Lights and Coors Lights of the world. All right. God, I keep tripping. So I do have my Instagram. It's EWBeerX. Or EWBeerX. If you follow us on Instagram, it's all in Russian. But I do have some posts on there. Also, if you go to ewbeerx.com, you can see all the breweries that we send over there. Come up to me, ask me for my phone number. I'll be happy to sit down and chat with you all about beer. Thank you, guys.
All right, how was that? Colorado representing in the beer department. All right. Let's see. So, Nerd Night at Coati. This was our second installment. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of history, of Nerd Night Colorado Springs history. Every third Wednesday of the month. So the next one will be in July, not in June 16th. June 16th is today. So I did not update that slide. So sorry about that. Keep posted on our Instagram, again, Nerd Night COS, our Facebook, Nerd Night COS. Give a hand to all of our presenters. Presenters, I need you guys up to the front for a picture with our Nerd Night bosses, myself and Flip. Everyone, round of applause. Yeah! Woo! Presenting ideas. Again, if you guys think of something that you are an expert at, that you know a lot about, that you want to present, please feel free. Send us an email, nerdnightcos@gmail.com. And again, follow, like, review, share us on Facebook, on Instagram. Spread the word. Nerds unite. Let's do this. And that is it